Hello, Browns fans. Welcome to another episode of the Dogland Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Joki. Today, we're going to be previewing the Cleveland Browns and the Houston Texans and the Browns home opener this Sunday. As always, I have Jack McCurry. I kind of wrestled him from vacation today to come and join us to preview this. So I really appreciate the time, Jack. How you doing? How's your vacation been?
It's been good. It's nice to get away for a few days. Just kind of shut things down. Obviously, especially after Sunday, just the overreaction, the hot takes. That was something that I did not miss at all. But had a little downtime, so I figured come on with you and preview this game, talk about the latest Browns news, and get right back into the swing of things.
Yeah, it's certainly been a week as we knew it would, right?
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate that it's kind of like spiraled this way, but again, it's football season and it's Browns fans, it's Browns media, and after another week one loss, you kind of figured that was probably going to happen. But the Browns have a very good chance at bouncing back this week against the Houston Texans. They are 12.5-point favorites against them, which has to be one of the larger point spreads that the Browns have been favored by in quite a while.
I seen not to cut you off. I seen it's the largest they've had since the return of '99. The biggest one prior to this was, and somebody pointed it out to Hayden Grove because he was trying to find it. They were 11-point favorites against Miami in 2019. So that was the largest up to this point, but now obviously Sundays is the largest.
Yeah, that was. Did they end up winning that game or did they lose that one?
They won and they covered.
Okay,
we
but
put
barely.
Like 40 plus on them.
Yeah, but barely though. I remember that one was a dogfight. That was Ryan Fitzpatrick too.
Yes.
That game. But yeah, so it's been a while since they've been favored by that much. But as we start to talk about the game on Sunday, there's obviously been quite a bit of news over the last couple of days about injuries and Odell. So we're going to start with Odell and Jack. Kevin Stefanski came out and said that Odell Beckham is not going to play on Sunday. He said that he talked with Odell and they felt that it was best that they continue to hold him out, even though he's kind of been practicing a little bit. Are you perfectly fine with just holding him out until he is 100% ready to go, considering, this year we moved to 17 games. Likely if you're going to play in, the Browns have aspirations to be in like the AFC Championship game and Super Bowl. So, you're looking at playing in upwards of 20 games or so. And are you perfectly fine with holding him out because, this is definitely a marathon and you will certainly want him to be available in those most important games in the later half of the season. And there is plenty of talent on offense around him as well. So you perfectly content with just holding him out until he's ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the big picture, obviously, like you said, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I emphasized this on Twitter Sunday morning when the word got out that Beckham wasn't going to play. The thing with Beckham is while he's been active in training camp and in practice, even though he's been limited throughout, he has not taken contact yet. And I think that's a big thing. They just want to make sure he's ready physically. You look at guys on the fields, we're recording this during the Giants game. Saquon Barkley's back after his ACL tear. He doesn't look right. The Broncos, Cortland Sutton tore his ACL last year around the same window as Barkley and Beckham. He didn't look right week one. While Odell looks phenomenal in all the videos we've seen from practice during the preseason warm-ups, he looked great. We all thought maybe he was going to be ready. He's not ready yet, and that's fine. And obviously our friends over at the OBR have kind of hinted at this through their reporting, saying that Odell's not ready yet. Maybe next week against Chicago he'll be ready. But like you said, Anthony, it's a 17-game season. Hopefully it's a 20, 21-game season for the Browns where they're playing in the AFC Championship or perhaps the Super Bowl. Whenever Odell is 100% ready to go and the Browns feel like he's going to be effective, then that's when he's going to be out, and I'm perfectly okay with that. And the upside is, like you said, we have plenty of weapons on the offensive side of the ball, especially at the wide receiver position, not to mention the tight ends and the running backs that Odell doesn't have to be rushed back. This isn't like 4 or 5 years ago where we had no talent on the skill positions. Now we have plenty, and Odell can come back, and the Browns can ease him in. And whenever he's ready to make a big contribution to this team, I feel like that's when he'll be unleashed.
Yeah, no offense to these guys, but there isn't Mohamed Massaquoi and Brian Robisky behind him. Um, we've certainly come a long way talent-wise, and especially the depth of talent. Um, you saw on Sunday the impact that Anthony Schwartz had, the impact David Njoku had. Peoples Jones impressed all of camp. I'm sure he's looking to prove more out there on Sundays. So there's plenty around, which is very nice. Obviously a good thing to have, and I'm perfectly fine with not rushing him back until he is 100% and ready to go. And because the Browns bye week is a little bit later on, too. I think that this plays a little bit part in that as well. Also, with the offensive line, Wills suffered an injury on Sunday, an ankle injury. They listed him as day to day. There really hasn't been much word on if he's going to be ready or not for Sunday. The big key here is Chris Hubbard popped up on the injury list, and he is not practicing as at all right now. So, his replacement. So they're looking at getting James Hudson ready to possibly play left tackle on Sunday. Browns go into Sunday with James Hudson as the left tackle, and we're recording this on Thursday night, so we don't really know for sure yet. But if they have to go into Sunday with him as their left tackle, do you feel confident that he will be ready to handle everything thrown at him, especially obviously protecting Baker Mayfield, the blind side there?
Honestly, no, because if you saw him in the preseason, which we all did, that looked like a guy that was not going to be ready to see any game time anytime soon. Now, we don't know the extent of the Hubbard injury. Obviously, it's a tricep injury, but he did pop up Wednesday on the injury report. It was a surprise. So, hopefully it's nothing major, and they're just, they're doing treatment. He'll be ready to go, you hope. But if Hudson has to be the left tackle, it's a major cause for concern. I'm sure Stefanski and Van Pelt and Bill Callahan are preparing a game plan to ease the burden on him. Maybe you see plenty of 2 and 3 tight end sets to help him in terms of blocking. Obviously, he'll have Joel Bitonio next to him, which is obviously a major plus because of how great Bitonio has been throughout his career. But if Hudson has to play already so early in his development, you have to not feel good about it. But, it's always been next man up. They'll get these guys ready. We've seen it happen last year in the playoffs with, Michael Dunn, Blake Hance stepping up when needed, Kendall Lamb as well when Wills got hurt in the divisional round against Kansas City. So it's next man up, but the alarms are going off because Hudson did not look ready in the preseason, and I don't expect him to look any better than he did in the preseason. Hopefully he does, but major alarms going off if Hudson indeed has to play Sunday.
Well, I guess one positive, at least J.J. Watt isn't on the other side anymore for the Houston Texans, because then you would really worry about that one. But this is obviously very key because if Hubbard or if Wills can't go and Hubbard is able to, the fact that Hubbard popped up on the injury report, there could be a situation in the game where they do have to switch. And so if that's the case, obviously they're getting him ready. You mentioned it. It's been a lot of next man up. That's just going to be the situation here. I know this is not the time to flop guys around the offensive line. You try to keep, everybody else in their position. They're not going to move Bitonio out there. Not going to move anybody else out there. It's going to be Hudson if Hubbard and Wills cannot go. So, it's certainly going to be an interesting thing to watch on Sunday.
Well, unless they have Jordan Streckler, who was, or this is not a surprise, he was with the Texans during the preseason. He's an offensive tackle. He's on the practice squad. Maybe they call him up to play instead of Hudson. I'm not sure. He's a first-year player as well. He was undrafted last year, but maybe they go with him instead. I don't know what the plan is right now. But Alex Van Pelt said Thursday in his press conference that they're getting Hudson ready just in case. So I would think it's going to be Hudson. Maybe it's Steckler. I mean, we'll see how it goes. We'll see who gets called up off the practice squad this week. So there could be some indications there of how they're going to plan this going forward for Sunday.
Well, I would imagine that if Wills and Hubbard can't go, that he'll certainly be one that they elevate just as a backup in case, things don't work out
Right.
with Hudson. Another piece of Browns news: the Browns will be working out linebacker Reuben Foster on Friday. Foster has quite a bit of a history, with the NFL. He was waived by the 49ers in 2018 after domestic violence arrest. He was then claimed by Washington. The charges were dismissed, but in 2019 with Washington, he suffered a major knee injury and did not play last year. So he has not played football since 2018. So, this is certainly one that is an interesting thing that they're bringing him for a workout. Maybe it's just one of those they're trying to, he's been posting workout videos and whatnot. So maybe he's just trying to get familiar with NFL teams again and saying that he's ready to go. If a team is willing to give him an opportunity. I should point out that the Browns linebacker coach, Jason Tarver, was his position coach in San Francisco. So there is that connection there and some familiarity there for Foster. Jack, if they were to bring him in, do you see it maybe as something that he'd be able to play right away with how the Browns linebackers are right now and, kind of the lack thereof of, them not producing and other guys being injured? Do you see him being able to play right away?
I mean, I think the workout will be obviously the Browns call. Like, do they think he can contribute? Obviously, he hasn't played football in 3 years. The OBR is reporting that, this is something they want to get to know. Reuben Foster's, I think, see where he's at, not only physically but mentally because of his history off the field. I think, based on what he did at Alabama and, his rookie year, he was the 4th highest graded linebacker according to Pro Football Focus. So, Reuben Foster can play in this league. It's interesting to see. And Malcolm Smith played with him. And on one of the workout videos, Malcolm Smith, was like hyping him up in the comments saying, coming soon, like, I think coming back to the league. I don't know if he was talking about coming to the Browns, but if Foster can come play, that would be good because, the linebacker core has a ton of talent already, but, there's some guys in the linebacker room, I won't mention names, that are struggling right now. And Malcolm Smith's honestly one of them, It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. The OBR is also reporting if the Browns don't, sign Foster, he's going to work out for Seattle. So, and he's worked out for the Jags and Jets in recent weeks as well. So obviously teams are looking into Foster as a possibility to add to their roster, and they're probably looking to see where he's at because of his checkered past. And the Browns obviously took a chance on Malik McDowell. They took a chance on Kareem Hunt a couple years ago. So the Browns aren't shy of bringing in guys with checkered past because they know they have established a solid culture and, they can put a solid surrounding around these guys. So, if they think Foster can help this team, I'm sure they'll try to get a deal done because depth isn't a bad thing to have, and also giving guys second chances or third chances in Reuben Foster's case, and they see if it pays off.
Yeah, 5 years ago, I think this would be one of those situations where we really roll our eyes at the Browns for, contemplating bringing him in and maybe even signing him. But they've done such a good job of putting a good culture together finally after so long that you can slowly, bring in, like you said, they took a chance on Hunt. They did the same thing with Malik McDowell. So now, with Foster, there's certainly that opportunity to bring in another guy who, has that kind of checkered past and whatnot, and bringing him into a situation to where, you know, there's familiarity there, coaching staff wise. You said you played with Malcolm Smith, so there's that familiarity there as well. Excuse me. So, there's certainly could be a good spot for him, and there's people already here, that could be a good support system for him trying to get back into the league. So it's very, if they do sign him, it's low risk. I would imagine that it's not going to be a huge payday by any means for him. So, if he is able to come in and if not, you know, play right away, but at least kind of maybe push these other linebackers to do better. That's certainly a good thing. They need more competition at that position. They need these guys, the Mac Wilsons and of the world to perform better. So hopefully, maybe bringing in some competition will help that a little bit. As we start to preview this game, Jack, the Houston Texans won last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, fairly big. The Jaguars did not look good at all. The Texans beat them 37-21, and that is without quarterback Deshaun Watson. And starting for the Houston Texans is our good old friend Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod has had such a tremendous journey, and definitely a roller coaster one in the NFL. From being at Buffalo to being in Cleveland for only a short time to going out to the Chargers, to getting his lung punctured and not being able to play over there. Now he finds himself in Houston, and he certainly has an opportunity with Deshaun Watson not playing right now, and it remains to be seen when Deshaun will be back, if ever. Last week against the Jaguars, he threw 21 to 33 passes, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a QBR of 76.1. So he looked fairly impressive, Jack. Are you surprised that Tyrod was able to find a place or another place to play, and obviously played very well week 1?
Yeah, I mean, Tyrod, he's been around the league a long time. You didn't even mention he was backup for Flacco for 4 years before he went and got his shot in Buffalo. But yeah, I mean, Tyrod's in a good opportunity for him with Houston in an offense that's tailor made for his skill set. David Culley comes from Baltimore, and they are running an offense similar to what Baltimore runs now, that Greg Roman and Lamar Jackson are running. So he's in an offense that suits his skill set. Looked good against, a bad Jacksonville team. So it's kind of hard to really judge him just because Jacksonville's in a rebuilding situation under Urban Meyer. But he looked good, throwing the ball accurately, moving the ball down the field with the weapons that he has at his disposal. And, hopefully he makes the most of this opportunity. Maybe he'll likely be the bridge quarterback for the Houston Texans, depending on who they draft, because unless he can somehow will this team to a decent enough record to where they're not in the runnings to get us Spencer Rattler or Carson Strong or whoever the top quarterback's going to be next year. You're looking at another situation where Tyrod's going to be the bridge to whoever the long-term starter is going to be for the Texans organization, because it's not going to be Deshaun Watson, regardless of how his legal situation unfolds. He's going to get traded at some point, unless he's facing jail time for the accusations brought against him. So Tyrod's going to make the most of this opportunity. Obviously, he's in I think year 10, year 11 in the NFL. So at this point, he's a solid veteran who will probably be a backup wherever he ends up for the remainder of his career.
Yeah, and he was also able to run 4 times for 40 yards yesterday or on Sunday. So, he still has a small threat with his leg. This is not as much as I would say he probably used to, but, he could still beat you if he escapes the pocket. They do have Mark Ingram in the backfield. He carried the ball 26 times for 85 yards, had a touchdown on Sunday. And you mentioned the weapons that they have. Brandon Cooks played very well, 5 receptions, 132 yards. Pharaoh Brown had 4 catches for 67 yards. So, this team has some skill players on the offense, Jack. The Browns had a rough time against Kansas City, and pretty much everybody does, covering, the likes of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, among others. Do you feel more confident about the Browns' defense this week heading into their game with the Texans?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, Houston's got notable names on the offensive side of the football. You mentioned Mark Ingram. They also have Phillip Lindsay, who rushed for 1,000 yards a couple times in Denver. David Johnson, who, had a solid start to his career in Arizona, then, plagued with injuries. He's trying to rejuvenate his career in Houston. You mentioned the receivers, Amendola, Cooks, Chris Conley, former Browns tight end Pharaoh Brown, who's on the injury report this week. And then they also have rookie receiver Nico Collins out of Michigan. So, they have somewhat of talent on the offensive side of the ball. I do not expect them to do to the Browns defense what Kansas City did. I expect the Browns to give this offense a rough time. Brandon Cooks is obviously the big threat there on that side of the ball. Had a monster game against Jacksonville's defense, but I expect the Browns defense to look better, especially on the back end of the secondary. John Johnson struggled. Obviously, Ronnie Harrison gets tossed out of the game early, but Newsome and Ward both had solid performances against Kansas City for the most part. You just got to eliminate the big plays, and you have Brandon Cooks. He's their biggest threat in terms of making those big type of plays. So I expect the Browns defense to look much better this week.
You look at the PFF grades for the Houston Texans offensive line, and their interior guys, Titus Howard, Justin Britt, Max Sharpwing, they struggled against the pass and pass blocking. Do you feel that the two Maliks will be able to wreak some havoc inside there when they get into some passing situations?
Oh, absolutely. I expect our defensive line in general to look dominant against this offensive line. Obviously, they paid a lot of money to Laramie Tunsil, and, he is one of the top tackles, but, I mean, is he really one of the best to get the money that he commanded in a new contract? I would say no. I mean, he struggled in terms of, or he looked good in pass blocking, but run blocking, he struggled. And as a whole, Anthony, they gave up 14 pressures, or allowed 14 pressures last week. Trevor Lawrence only got hit twice, or no, I'm sorry, Tyrod Taylor only got hit twice, but they forced him into, maybe having to extend more plays with his legs. The Browns are going to do that with the Maliks, not to mention Miles and Jadeveon Clowney, but can Tyrod outrun Clowney and Miles? No, I don't think so. Malik McDowell looked really good last week. So I would expect the Browns are going to pressure Tyrod. I don't think he's going to be able to escape more times than not, but I do expect our defensive line, as good as they looked last week against Patrick Mahomes, to bring it home more times than not against Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing on Sunday. The Browns, especially Clowney and Garrett, they were very close many times to bringing it home. Miles finally got to Mahomes at the end of closer to the end of the game there, but I think that they're certainly going to be able to, I think, get home more often than they did against the Chiefs on Sunday. You mentioned the secondary with John Johnson and Ward and Newsome. You feel confident that those guys are going to be able to bounce back? Obviously Harrison coming back from being kicked out. You think they're going to be able to bounce back from playing against Kansas City to playing the Houston Texans here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to see Grant Delpit sprinkled in this week. I think he's limited on the injury report, but I would have a feeling, just based on how Stefanski talked to the media on, I think it was Wednesday, is when he was talking about him. I think you'll see a little bit of Delpit. I think they're going to, this is a game where they'll let him get his feet wet, get his first live action in an NFL game. Obviously Harrison will be back out there. Johnson had a bad game, but when not all your guys are out there and you have to do a little bit more. Plus, going one-on-one against Tyreek Hill doesn't help your case either. But I expect this secondary to look much better. Like I said, as long as they shut down Cooks in terms of the big explosive plays, this secondary is going to look good. They're going to be effective. I thought Ward Newsome played well last week, especially the fact that Newsome only got targeted one time in his NFL debut. It makes me think that teams realize the talent that's there with Greg Newsome, and not to mention Denzel Ward on the other side.
All right, switching sides here. Do you feel confident that the Browns are going to be able to move the ball really consistently against Houston this week?
Yeah, I think so. I think Houston defense has some notable players. Whitney Mercilus up front. He can get after the quarterback for sure. Excuse me. In their second level, Christian Kirksey was their top graded defensive player in general, but their top graded linebacker last week. They paid a lot of money to Zach Cunningham, and he was their worst graded player. So that just kind of tells you where things stand when Christian Kirksey, who's not making that much money for Houston, was their top guy, and Zach Cunningham's one of their top paid defenders, and he struggled last week. But they have some other guy, and you look in their secondary, Justin Reed, Vernon Hargraves, former Browns Terrence Mitchell, and Eric Murray. They have names, and they get the job done sometimes, but can they do it consistently against our receivers, our tight ends, our running backs? I don't think so. I thought this was a team that's going to be one of the worst in the league. They have some guys, but I don't think they have enough to stop our offense, especially when you look, Anthony, last week, our offense looked really good against the two-time defending AFC champions Kansas City Chiefs defense. Granted, they were missing Tyron Matthew, but if we did that against the Kansas City defense, what are we going to do against a Houston defense who, granted, they shut down Jacksonville, but Jacksonville's rebuilding with a rookie quarterback and not much on the offensive side to help him. So I would expect the Browns offense to continue to look like a well-oiled, efficient machine, and it would not shock me if they put up 30-plus points on this Houston defense.
Excuse me. Well, Lawrence did throw 28 times, or he threw 51 times, completed 28. Threw for 332 yards, had 3 touchdowns, but was picked off 3 times by the Houston Texans defense. As long as the Browns don't turn the ball over, Baker doesn't make any huge mistakes, any game-breaking mistakes. Yeah, I honestly think, Jack, that they're certainly going to put up points almost at will against Houston on Sunday, despite how many the Texans score. I just think that the Browns, no matter what in this game, are just gonna outscore the Houston Texans because they're just that much better. It could be a game where both teams are giving up a lot of points, but I'm just that confident in the Browns offense against the defense that they're facing this week that almost every drive is going to end up, in a touchdown or a field goal. I'm just that confident that they're going to be able to move the ball that well.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, Jacksonville only ran 16 times against Houston. They gave up 76 yards, so that's over 4 yards a carry. You go look at PFF. None of their run defensive grades looked very good week 1. So that makes you going in right there makes you feel good that Chubb and Hunt are going to be able to pick apart this Houston Texans defense, especially up front. Then you look back and, the secondary, they gave up over 300 yards. Granted, Jacksonville threw 51 times, which, that tells you right there that Urban Meyer and whoever their offensive play caller is down there needs to adjust to make things more comfortable for Trevor Lawrence as a rookie quarterback. Their coverage grades aren't all that great outside of Christian Kirksey and Tremont Smith. Everybody else was kind of average or below average. So you would have to think the Browns are going to be able to have their way. Like you said, as long as Baker protects the football, which, last week I thought he did a great job against Kansas City. He was accurate. He was poised. He made all the right throws and had a strong connection with the receivers. So, and I just don't see any names on Houston outside of maybe Whitney Merciless to make me think that this Browns offense can't put up 30, maybe even 40 points come Sunday.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on, what the left tackle situation going to be or is
Absolutely.
going to be. If it's going to be Wills, if it's going to be Hubbard, if it's going to be James Hudson. As of Thursday night when we're recording this, we don't know. But whoever it is, I still think that they will have plenty of good opportunities to run the football. Against this Texas defense, and be able to consistently move the ball down the field in chunks, yardage wise. So I'm just really confident that the Browns are going to win their home opener on Sunday. So let's kind of move into the predictions as we wrap up here, Jack. Do the Browns cover in your opinion? They are 12.5 points favorites right now on Thursday night here. Do you think that they cover and beat the Houston Texans on Sunday?
It's so hard because, like, when the spreads are this big for an NFL game, you kind of want to take the points, go plus 12.5 on this one. But I look and see how the Browns were against Kansas City, and just kind of want to say to myself, I gotta take them minus 12.5. So when I'm going to make my prediction, I'm going to say the Browns win. It's gonna be, I say they put up 38 points. And if I'm gonna pick for Houston, I'll go 38-20. I feel like they'll get a couple touchdowns on us, but for the most part, and I think those touchdowns might be in garbage time, I'm gonna say the Browns cover and they win the home opener in a blowout, 38-20.
I'm very excited to be there on Sunday. It's been a 2 year or 2 years since been to a game, and obviously I didn't go last year with COVID and everything. So I'm very excited to be there on Sunday. I know that place is going to be rocking and really loud for the Browns fans to finally get to see in person the team that went to the playoffs last year. I wish one of those games would have been home last year. Like, how great would it have been if that Browns had that home playoff game against Pittsburgh and had put up that kind of performance. I know it's going to be rocking on Sunday. I'm very excited for it. I'm with you. I think they cover. I just think they have so much firepower. And the defense, I think, is going to look a lot better, after a week of adjustments and everything. Those guys started to familiarize with their responsibilities, and they're not playing Kansas City again. So, Houston has some good players, but they're definitely not the Kansas City offense. So I feel as if the Browns defense is going to perform much better on Sunday. So if I had to give a final score, I think they're going to put up 40 at least on Houston. So I'll say the Browns win 40-24. I'm with you. I think it's going to be a blowout. And obviously the Browns cover, and they get to celebrate a home opening win for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. Most importantly, they're hungry and they're out to prove something. Like, you hear it in the player press conferences this week. Like, Nick Chubb goes, well, the Texans are 1-0 and we're 0-1. And, like, I think that's the mindset Kevin Stefanski installed in them. And I heard Landry say it earlier on Thursday. He goes, we watched the film and Stefanski was just like, it's time to flip it to the Texans. So they are focused, they're locked in, and they're ready to come out and prove to everybody that, and because they're pissed off, I think. And, like, I think they're out to prove something, and it will not shock me if they take Houston to the woodshed and just kind of show the league, like, yeah, we did lose to Kansas City, but we're still a damn good football team, and we're gonna show you. And it would not shock me if they win by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I just think, and Houston will come in and fight. I really think they will, but the Browns are the better team, and I think they're just going to go out there and prove it on Sunday for all 60 minutes. It's not just going to be 30 to 35 minutes like it was against Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I certainly don't want to think on the other side of this. If it does happen, we'll talk about that on Sunday night. But I'm very confident that the Browns are gonna take care of business on Sunday against the Houston Texans, move to 1-1, and we'll go from there. Um, Jack, is there anything else you want to talk about before we get on out of here?
No, sir. Just go Browns.
All right. Yep. As always, you guys can follow Jack on Twitter at JackMcCurry08. You could. It is 08. It's not CLE, right?
Yeah, I haven't changed it.
Okay. I yeah. It's been so long. I haven't had to plug your Twitter in a while. Um, you can follow me on Twitter at Anthony Ujoki, Joki. Be sure to follow the podcast and the website on Twitter and on Facebook at The Dogland. With all that, we're going to get on out of here. We will be back Sunday night to recap the Texans and the Browns. Hopefully, we will be talking about a win, the Browns being 1-1. Until then, and most importantly, as always, go Browns.